Forget Jurassic Park. If you think dinosaurs were terrifying, wait until you step foot into ancient Australia, a place where every corner crawled with monstrous, nightmare-inducing creatures, massive killer kangaroos, 20-foot-long lizards, and birds that could disembowel you with a single kick. This wasn't a land of cuddly koalas. It was a battlefield of survival, tens of thousands of years ago, long before the outback was quiet and the deserts were still forming. Australia was teeming with life, and not the kind you'd want to meet on a hike. The Ice Age shaped a harsh, arid land, cut off from the rest of the world for millions of years. This isolation gave rise to some of the most bizarre and terrifying creatures the planet has ever seen. It was a world where evolution went wild, a land ruled not by humans, but by megafauna, giants, killers, creatures we still don't fully understand. First up, Megalania, the apex predator of prehistoric Australia. Imagine a Komodo dragon on steroids. This lizard could grow up to 23 feet long and weigh over 1,300 pounds. With serrated teeth and possible venom glands, it was a stealthy, armored nightmare capable of taking down anything in its path, including early humans. Then there was Diprotodon, the largest marsupial to ever live. It looked like a wombat the size of a car. Peaceful, maybe, but where there are prey, there are predators, and Diprotodons had to survive in a world where ambush hunters were always watching. Enter Thylacoleo, the marsupial lion. With bone-crushing jaws, retractable claws, and a muscular build, it was pound for pound one of the most powerful carnivores in the world. It could leap from trees, tear flesh like paper, and was terrifyingly silent. Look up, and things don't get any better. Flying overhead was Quincana, a giant land-dwelling crocodile with long limbs and a terrifying bite. But even worse was Geniornis, the demon duck of doom. This flightless bird stood over 7 feet tall, weighed more than 500 pounds, and had a massive beak capable of crushing bone. And if you thought the land was dangerous, you'd better stay out of the water. Ancient Australia's rivers and coastlines were home to giant crocodiles, sharks, and monstrous marine reptiles that made swimming a deadly gamble. Humans arrived in Australia over 50,000 years ago, and they were stepping straight into a survival horror movie. Armed with little more than spears and fire, early Aboriginal Australians not only faced off with these megafauna, they adapted. They learned the creatures' habits, tracked them, hunted them, and perhaps even helped drive them to extinction. But it wasn't just about hunting. Some believe these massive beasts may have inspired stories, myths, and dreamtime legends, passed down for generations as warnings about what lurked in the shadows. By around 40,000 years ago, many of these terrifying creatures had vanished. Some say climate change was the culprit. Others blame the rise of humans and their mastery of fire. Likely, it was a deadly combination of both. What's left now are bones, footprints, and cave paintings, echoes of a lost world that once was very real. A world that makes today's Australia, with its venomous snakes, giant spiders, and crocs, look like a petting zoo in comparison. What we've just uncovered is only a glimpse of the untamed, violent, and awe-inspiring world that once existed beneath the same skies we live under today. Prehistoric Australia was more than just ancient rocks and long-dead bones. It was a living nightmare teeming with beasts that blurred the lines between science and horror. Imagine a world where the largest marsupials ever to walk the earth thundered across vast open plains, while apex predators, silent and ruthless, stalked from the shadows, a place where even the birds could tear you apart. And the water wasn't safe either, not with creatures like the Megalania, a venomous monitor lizard stretching over 20 feet long. For indigenous Australians, whose oral traditions span back tens of thousands of years, stories of dreamtime monsters and giant spirits may not have just been myth. They might have been memories, faint echoes passed down from ancestors who really did face beasts the modern world has forgotten. And the terrifying truth, we barely scratched the surface. Australia's fossil record is still giving up its secrets. Many species are still unnamed, unclassified, just shadows lurking in dusty museum boxes or buried beneath remote rock beds. Each discovery adds another piece to a dark puzzle, a clearer picture of a time when humans were anything but dominant, a time when survival meant facing off with evolution's most fearsome experiments, and hoping they weren't hungry. It's almost poetic. The same sun that shines over Sydney today once lit a world of monsters. The bones beneath your feet once belonged to nightmares, and the land, though tamed on the surface, remembers because in Australia, the past doesn't sleep, it just waits to be unearthed. But this savage kingdom wasn't just about the predators, it was about survival. The prey species in Australia were no gentle grass eaters. They were armored, massive, and equally adapted to battle the hostile terrain and apex predators. Imagine the Diprotodon, the size of a small car, capable of charging with bone-crushing force. When cornered by a thylacoleo, it didn't just ruin, it fought back, using its sheer bulk to trample or shove predators into the dirt. And then there was the giant echidna, a spiny mammal the size of a pig, burrowing through the earth like a tank. Its spines could deter even the most determined attacker, while its claws dug escape tunnels through Australia's dry soil. But nature wasn't just dangerous because of its creatures. The land itself was a threat. Massive bushfires raged through the continent, ignited by lightning storms and drought. The climate of prehistoric Australia swung from extreme heat to ice age cold. Those that survived the beasts now had to survive the elements. Then came a game changer: early humans. The ancestors of Aboriginal Australians arrived tens of thousands of years ago. They were clever, tool-using, fire-wielding survivors. And although they were not as strong as Megalania or as fast as the Dromornes, they had something no predator could match: strategy. They learned how to set traps, how to use fire to herd animals, how to attack in groups and avoid dangerous territory. In time, humans began to shift the balance of power. Giant predators once at the top of the food chain began to vanish. Over time, many of the nightmare creatures of prehistoric Australia disappeared. Some due to climate change, others perhaps due to human hunting. Their bones remained buried in red earth, forgotten until modern science dug them up. And now, as scientists uncover fossils and ancient footprints, we're piecing together a terrifying, awe-inspiring past, one where every day was a battle for survival, and every shadow could hide a monster. Prehistoric Australia was no walk in the park. It was a land where evolution went off the rails, where the strange became deadly, and where nightmares weren't just dreams. They walked in the sunlight, swam in the rivers, and flew through the skies. So what can we learn from this land of ancient terror? That evolution, left to its own devices in isolation, can birth creatures beyond imagination. Beasts with venom, birds with bone-breaking kicks, and lizards the size of buses. Australia wasn't just unique. It was untamed, unforgiving, and utterly unlike anywhere else on Earth. Even today, echoes of that ancient time remain. The cassowary still stalks the rainforests. The saltwater crocodile still rules the rivers. The redback spider and funnel web still lurk in the shadows. Modern Australia may have paved roads and shining cities, but it still carries the DNA of its monstrous past. The terror didn't disappear. It just evolved. And yet perhaps the scariest part is this: we're only scratching the surface. With each dig, with each fossil uncovered, with each strange tooth or claw pulled from the ground, scientists are rewriting the story of life on this continent. Who knows what's still waiting to be discovered? What other creatures once ruled this brutal world before fire and time consumed them? What secrets lie buried beneath the red dust? Prehistoric Australia wasn't just nightmare fuel. It was a forgotten world, a survival game played on the highest difficulty. And in that world, fear wasn't a feeling. It was reality. Thank you for stepping into the ancient terror with us. If you're as fascinated by Earth's forgotten past as we are, hit that like button, subscribe to the Forgotten Earth TV, and tap the bell icon so you don't miss the next chilling discovery. Let us know in the comments, which of these prehistoric beasts haunts your imagination the most? Until next time, keep looking to the past, because sometimes the scariest stories are the ones that actually happened.